To customize your Kadence child theme, you're going to navigate from the dashboard to Appearance and click on Customize. And then over here, we're going to click on General and Layout. And then here we could set our content max width. And I'm going to go click on my blog page. And here our blog archive is currently set to a narrow layout. So if you want to change that, you could toggle this up or down, or you could go and enter a value in over here and you can select which units you want to use. And then for the content top and bottom spacing, you could do that as well. And then you could go and change it for your different devices. And then if I click on this blog post, here's where you could also change the content max width. And then in single post box spacing, here we can go and adjust that. And in the box shadow, we could go and adjust these values. And then you'll see this shadow is now around the post. And then we could also change it to inset, or we could change the color of it. And you could drag down the opacity. You could also change this to a custom color from the color picker. And over here, we've got this border radius that we can set as well on that. And then you could do similar settings for your archive grid. And then if we go back to sidebar, here we could change the sidebar width, as well as the widget spacing. And then we could also enable the sticky sidebar. So if I scroll here, this last widget is now stuck. So if I disable that, you'll see now the sidebar is stuck when you scroll. And then if I go to design, here we can go and set some styling changes, and we can also change the link colors. And here in the sidebar background, we could select a color for the background, and you could select a custom color here in the color picker, and we could toggle this, and you could also adjust the opacity. And then if you have a specific hex code, you could type that in over here, or you could just select one from our global palette. And then in gradient, here you could select your colors over here. We choose that. And then we could add some control points. And then if you wanted to remove any control points, you just do that. And you could select if you wanted to be a radial gradient. And here we could also change the angle if we wanted to. And then on image over here, you could select your image over here. And then if we go back, here I've got a sidebar divider border. So if we wanted to add one here on the side, we could do that. And then maybe we want to add some padding here. So, and then select my unit over here. There we go. And I'm going to reset these. And then go back. And then we're going to go to colors. And then here you'll see that we are working in Global Palette 1, and you also have the option of these other two palettes. So if I click on that, you'll see that automatically my button color has changed and my background is now this pale blue color. And you could go and set your colors over here as well as for palette 3. And then I'm going to go back to palette 1. And here you'll see if we hover over it, it tells us what these colors are. So we've got this accent, and then we've got another accent color. And then here we've got our text colors from strongest to lightest. And then we've got our background colors as well. And then if we go here, we've got our site background and content background. So we could set a color, a gradient, or an image. And then the same for content. And here in title above content background. So if we had our page titles enabled, you could go and set that over here. And you could also set an overlay color for that background. And then in link style, we've currently got our link set to no underline. So I'm going to go to a page where I've got a link. Scroll down here. Here we go. So it's currently not underlined, and we've got our colors set over here. So if we wanted to change that, we could do that. And then we could also set it to background on hover. I'm going to go back to no underline. And then go back, and we're going to go to buttons. Here, if we scroll down, we've got a button over here, and you could set your text colors. So this is the initial color and the hover color, and for your background, the same as well, and your border colors. And then if you wanted to change the border radius, make it square edges, you could do that. And then over here, you could set your font. So if you wanted to select a different font family from what it's currently inheriting from the base font, then you could go and change that over here. And in style, you could go and select your font weight. And then in size over here, you could go change your font size, your line height, letter spacing, and you could also transform the text over here. So if you wanted it to be lowercase, we could do that. And here you could make all your changes for your different devices as well. And if we go here to padding, you could add some padding, and you could also add some button shadows. And then we're going to go back and typography. And this is where you would set all your fonts for the website. So here we currently have WorkSense as our base font. So you could just change that if you wanted to. And there are changes, and you could go and change your style and size as well. And then here in our heading font family, we currently have Marcellus for all of our fonts. So all of them are inheriting Marcellus. So if you want to go and set a different font family for your different headings, so over here, if we wanted to choose a different font, you'll see that it changes over there. And then over here, you could also do that for your title above content. So we're going to go back, and then on scroll to top, you'll see that we have this little scroll to top over here on the right hand corner of the page. So if you wanted to change the style of that, you could go and click on that arrow, and you could also change the icon size. And then here we could also change the alignment. So if you wanted it on the left or right, and then you could also change your offset. So if you wanted it further away from the edge, you could do that. And you could also choose if you want it only to be visible on desktop and tablet, you would just disable the mobile device. And then over here in design, we could go and make styling changes. So we could change the colors, the background colors, the border colors, and we could also increase our border width. And then here we could change the radius of the top of the scroll to top, and we can go make this 0. And then here we would make this 0, and we could go and change our padding. And then I'm going to undo this. And then go back. And then here in social links, you'll see at the top of our page in our header, and at the bottom over here, we've got some social icons. So this is where you would set all your social links. So I'm going to go back, and then next we're going to go to the header. Over here, you'll see we've got the search icon, a navigation, some social icons, and then we've got this shopping cart icon that links to our cart. And then here we've got our logo or the name of our website. And then here on the left-hand side, you'll see that these are the items that we are currently using, and we still have these available items. So if you wanted to move any of these items across into the header, you could either drag them across, or you could just click anywhere on the header, and then you could select the item over here. And then in design, you'll see that our header background is white. And if you wanted to select a specific color for any of these rows, you could go and click over here on the settings gear icon. And then over here, you could set your row background. And then here, if we wanted to remove this border, we could do it over here. And then you could add any padding if you wanted to. And then in general, yeah, you could set your height of your row. And if we go back, here we could go and set a transparent header. So we could click on enable. And then you'll see our content is now behind our header. So here you could choose if you want to disable it on your search and archives, and if you want to disable it on pages or on posts or products, and which devices you want to set it for. And then you could also set a different logo for your transparent header. And then in design, you've got all these different styling options. So for your site title color, you could set a completely different color, and your navigation as well. And then you could also set a navigation background, button colors, social colors, and a different header background. And then if we go, I'm going to go back to general and disable that. And I'm going to go back. And then here on sticky header, we've got it enabled only for the main row. And we could go and choose which parts we want to be sticky, or if we don't want to have a sticky header at all. And then here we've got it enabled for reveal sticky on scroll up. So if we scroll down, you'll see if I scroll up, it pops up over here. And if we wanted to enable main row shrinking to make this narrower, we would just enable that. And here you could choose what value you want to set. But if we scroll up, there we go, it's much narrower over there. And then if you have your logo in your sticky header, you could also select a different one if you wanted to. And then you could also enable it for mobile. And then in design, yeah, we have all these options over here for styling. And then for our header background, we've got it currently selected at white, but then our opacity is at 0.8. So we've got slight transparency over here. And then you would make any of your changes. And then if we go back, here, if you wanted to make any changes to the settings of each item in your header, you could click on this gear icon, or you could go and navigate to it from here. So we're going to start with the button. And then here you'll see that we can set a label for it. So if we typed in shop now, and then you could link to a URL from there. And then here you could set what type of link you want it to be. And you could also choose the button style and the visibility. So if you want it to be visible to everyone or only to your logged out or logged in users. And then in design, over here you could go and set up all these styling options. And then in HTML, here we could go and add in HTML. And we could also add in a link if we wanted to. And then over here in design, we could go and choose the font settings and our link style, link colors, and set a margin as well. And then for our search, we could set a label over here, and we could also select this icon if we wanted to. And if you only wanted search to be available for products, you could enable that. And then in design, we could go and make all these styling changes. And then in our modal options, so if I click on the icon, over here this modal pops up. And then you'll see in our modal background, we could go and set a color, a gradient, or an image. So we've currently got this color selected, but with an opacity of 0.5. So if you wanted to select another color over here, then you could also go and change your text colors over there. And I'm going to close that. And then for primary navigation, we could choose a different menu if we wanted to. This menu has been set up in the dashboard, but if you wanted to choose a different menu, you could from here. And then we could change the item spacing, or we could choose a stretched menu. And then for our drop-down options, over here we've got this drop-down. We could go and make it wider or narrower. And then we could also set a bigger or smaller vertical spacing. And then here we could go and change our drop-down reveal. So if we wanted it to just fade, we could select that. And then in design, over here we've got all these styling options. So you'll see if we hover on it, we've got the slight transparency on the drop-down. So here we've got our initial background that's set at an opacity of 0.6. And then here on the hover background, we've got solid white and solid white on the active background. So you'll see if we hover on that or on here, we've got our active page is currently white, and then our hovers, while we're working in it, we can't hover on there. And then we've also can set an item divider, and we can change our font settings as well. And we've got a drop down shadow. So if I hover on here, you'll see that slight shadow around the edges. And I'm going to go to social. Then here we could go and click on this, and we could choose a different social icon from here, or we could go and set a custom image. And we could also remove any items we don't want to use. And then we could also add over here and enable show icon label. And then we could also increase or decrease that spacing. And if we click on set social links, this will take us back to where we set our social links earlier. And in design, yeah, we could go and make all these styling changes, and we could choose to use the brand colors. And once we're done with all of those settings, then we can go to the next one is cart. Here we could go and add a cart label, and then we could also show the total items. So if I click on that, you'll see this item indicator pops up. So we could also change the cart icon, and the icon is currently set to a link, but if we wanted to add a drop-down cart, over here, if we hover on it, that drop-down now shows up. And then in design, we could also again go and make some styling changes. And then for our logo, here we could go and select our logo. We've currently only got our site title in here, but if you wanted to only have the logo visible, you would select that. And then you could choose your logo placement. So if you wanted to the left of the title or above or below, and then you could also change your site title and tagline from here. And if we click on site icon, yeah, we could go and change our site icon from here. I'm going to go back to the logo, and then in design, yeah, we can go and change our site title font. And if we click on this, we could also change it for the different devices. And these other settings we can go and change as well. And then once we're done with the header, we can go and do the tablet and mobile header. So if we click on that, here we've got our items in the bottom row over here, and this trigger links to our off canvas menu. So if I go to settings here, then you'll see if we click on that trigger, we've currently got this full width layout, but if we wanted a side panel, we could choose if we wanted on the left or right, and we could also align our content right or left. And then we could also change the vertical alignments as well. And then for design, we've got our pop-up background is this color over here, but we could change it to a gradient or image, or we could also drop the opacity over here. And then we could also style our close icon. So those changes we could make over here and add some padding as well. And then for our items over here, we could just go and click on each one again to make any changes. And then here for mobile navigation, here we could go and set our styling changes. So we could change our text colors. And if you wanted to set a different background for your mobile navigation, you could go and do that over here. And then we can also set an item divider and make any changes to our font settings. And in general, yeah, you could go and change the menu if you wanted to. And then we could set our vertical spacing. And we currently have collapsed sub-menu items collapsed. So if you disabled that, then all the sub items would pop up over here. And if we go to our logo, here you could go and set a different logo for mobile. And then once we're done with the header, we can go back. And I'm going to close this and go to desktop view. And then for our footer, if we scroll down, here we have the same sort of drag and drop interface. So we have all these items currently in our footer, and then we also have these available items over here. And here we've got our footer navigation, and we've got some widgets, and we've got our social links and copyright. And if we wanted to go over here to settings, here we've currently got 3 columns and we've got it set to full width. So if we wanted to make it a standard width, it goes to our max content width space. And here we could change the layout if we wanted to. And we've currently got our column direction set to row, but if we change it to column, you'll see over here, we could now move these items around. And then I'm just going to hide this so we can see what it looks like. And here we could go and set some, let's go and change this top spacing to 20. We make it 30. And then I'm going to go and click on Footer Builder again. And then I'm going to click on Settings over here. If I click on Settings, this will take us to the widget. And if I click to the right over here, this will take us to our general settings. So I'm going to go and change the alignment to center. And then I'm going to go to our copyright. And I'm also going to change that to the center. And here, if I click on widget 2, this will take us again to our widget. So if we click on this, we could make our changes to this widget and edit it from here. And on our footer navigation, you could go and select the menu, and you could stretch the menu if you wanted to. And then in design, here we could change our item spacing. And then once we're done with the footer, we can go back. And then for page layout, if we click on general, here we could choose if we want to show our page title. So it's currently disabled, so if I enable that, you'll see here it comes up, and you could set the layout and the container width as well. And then you could set the title align as well as the minimum height. And then we could also set our title elements. And then here we could go and choose our default page layout. And then over here, we could go and select our content style. And then here we could also enable or disable vertical padding. And then we could choose if we wanted to show a featured image on our pages or comments. And then in design, here we could go and set our settings for our title font and our breadcrumbs meta. And we could also set a page title background. So over here, you could go and change the color, or you could set a gradient or an image. And then if you have your featured images enabled, you could go and use your featured image for your background on each page. And you could also set an overlay on that, and you could set a border. And here we can set our site background and content background. And then we're going to go back, and I'm just going to disable that again, as well as the content vertical padding, and then go back. And then for blog posts, over here, if we click on blog, in our archive layout, we can choose to show the archive title if we wanted to, and then you could set your title elements as well. So if we click on that, here we could go and set the minimum height, and we could also set our container width, the title alignment, and then we could also choose if we want to show breadcrumbs or not. I'm going to disable this. And then here we could go and choose our layout. So it's currently set to narrow. And then we could also choose our content style, and we could choose how many columns we wanted to set here. So if we made it normal, there we go. And then here you could choose what items are visible over here. So if you didn't want to show the category, you could just go and disable that. And here for our excerpt, if we click on this, here we could go and choose how many words we show in the excerpt count. And then here for read more, you could go and change the label as well. So if you wanted to change this to read post, we could go do that. And then for our featured image, we could also set the ratio over here. And in design, we could go and make all these styling changes. We could also set the title font settings, as well as the category font, meta font, and we could set a site background and content background. And then if we go back here to our single post layout, if I click on this, you'll see over here we could choose if we don't want to show the post title, and we could choose our layout, our title alignment, as well as all our title elements over here, and our layout, and then our content style. And we could also choose if we want to disable or enable vertical padding, and if we want to show the featured image in our blog post. So over here, if you want to show it above, you have it over there, or behind, then it's slightly behind over here. I'm going to leave it at below. And then here you could also set your featured image ratio, and then we could also choose all of these settings. And here we have our post navigation enabled, and if you wanted to show related posts at the bottom here, you could have that enabled. And then we could also show comments or show comment date. And then in design, over here, you can go and set all these styling settings as well. And then I'm going to go back, and here for search results, if we go and search a page, let's go and search home. You'll see over here, you could choose if you want to show the results title or not. And then you could also choose your layout and your content style, your columns, and all the item elements over here. I've only got the image enabled and title. And then in design, we could go and set all these styling options as well. And I'm going to go back. And then for site identity, that would just take us back to our logo control and our site icon. And then for menus over here, we could go and make changes to our menus and set the locations. And then for widgets, here again, if you wanted to go and change your widget, or show your widgets over here, you would have to click into a widget, and then all those settings would come up. So I'm going to go back. And then for homepage settings, you could go and set your homepage over here. So if you wanted to choose your coming soon page or another page, or set a different page over here, you could do that. Or you could also do this from your dashboard by navigating to settings and reading. And then we're going to go back. And here in WooCommerce, if we go to our, let me go to the shop page. We'll see here that our shop page is not looking exactly like the demo. So if we go to the original demo, here I'm going to go and click on the shop page. And then you'll see we've got these 2 products across in the row, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So I'm going to go back to the customizer, and then here I'm going to go to my product images, and I'm going to set the ratio to be custom, and I'm going to select 4 and 5. And now we've got a portrait ratio here. And then if we go back and we go to our product catalog, we scroll down to the bottom over here, we can set our products to 2 per row and 5 rows per page. And now that looks much better. And I'm going to go back and we'll start here at the top. In store notice, we can set a store notice. And here at the top, I'm going to go to design and change the font to white. There we go. And then over here in general, we can go and change the text over here. And we could choose if we wanted to only hang over the top. But then here you'll see it hides part of our menu. So we could also choose if we wanted at the bottom of the page over here. And then in design, we could also change the background color and then all those font settings. Disable that. And then product catalog. Here you could choose if you wanted to show the page title as well as our title elements. And here's our layout settings, content settings. And then here we have our archive results count. So if you don't want to show this, you could just disable that. And here we have our sorting drop down. And here we could also select if we want to show an archive grid or list toggle over there, or disable all of it. And our images are currently set to zoom on switch. So here you can also choose if you wanted none or if we wanted to do a fade or slide or flip. And then here we've got our button style is currently bottom slide up. So you could also choose if you wanted to have it always visible, or we could change it to a text with arrow. And then here we could also choose what we want to show, if we want to show products or categories or both. And here's our settings for our products per row and rows per page. And then in design over here, we've got all these styling settings as well as the site background and content background. And then over here in single product layout, if we click on a product, and over here we could go and choose if we want to show breadcrumbs above our content layout there or nothing. And then we could also set our product layout as well as our content style and vertical padding. And then over here in our product elements, we could go and set here if we want to go and toggle on extras. You'll see over here, these are the extras. And if we click on this arrow, here we can go and change the title, and we can set however many features we want to show. And then we could also choose a 4th or a 5th feature. And then in payments, over here, you'll see these payment options over here. And if I go on this arrow here, you could change the title, and you could also choose this gray color. Or if you wanted to, you could go and choose your own custom image and add that over here. And then if we go back to design, yeah, we could make some styling changes as well. And then we go back, and then for checkout, here you'll see options that you can go and set over here. And then in my account layout, we go to the account page. Here we have our navigation set to the top. So if you wanted to change it, you could change it to the right or left. And then if we go back, here we can go and set some additional CSS. And here in import, export, here we can go and export our settings or import settings. And here we could also reset all of our theme settings. And then when you're done, you can go and click on publish. But I'm going to go and discard all these changes. And that's how you customize your theme.